There's a question that we kind of throw around in society. We say it quite flippantly to people we meet, friends, family, strangers. But in this context, I want to ask it in the most sort of intentional way, and give me the long answer. How are you doing?
As a whole, great. Recently, there's been some turbulence, but I'm doing well. Doing well.
There's been some turbulence.
Yeah.
Give me some color on that.
Last week, which is not new to me, like my emotions get the best of me, kind of was in a bad spot. Mentally, started drinking, got arrested, got into some trouble at the airport in Atlanta. And, not proud of it, but it is what it is.
I want to give some background context. And I spent the last couple of days sort of looking through your childhood and where you come from and who you are to try and fill the picture of Dustin Poirier in my head. And I've got lots of photos of you here as a young man. Got another one even younger here that I'll share with you here.
Yeah.
And I think this was incredibly important context because I'd watched you fight the best that there is and beat the best that there is in the UFC. But it wasn't until I understood your earliest context that I started to understand the picture of where you've come from. And also in some part, how that makes you who you are today.
Uh-huh.
So take me back. What is the early context that people need to understand to really understand you as a man?
I'm just a man. Trying his best, trying to provide for my family, learning as I go. Not scared to work hard, not scared to chase dreams. Just a kid from Lafayette, Louisiana, who found something to put his all into and try to become great at it, with fighting.
Your father and your grandfather were fighters?
My father boxed growing up when he was younger. My grandfather was in the Navy and worked in the oil field and stuff. They weren't successful fighters. I wouldn't say they were nobody knew who they were, but definitely, yeah, I come from fighters for sure.
And from money? Do you come from money?
No, definitely not.
What was that like growing up?
It was normal to me because I didn't know any different, It wasn't like I missed a meal or anything like that, but definitely wasn't rich or anything or had money to do a whole lot of things when I was younger. But a working class family,
And your parents divorced when you were younger?
Yeah. Yeah, I lived with them up until about maybe kindergarten or first grade. Then they got divorced.
Do you have any sort of mental models or mental images of them being together when you were younger? Is there any memories of them being together?
Honestly, dude, not to turn it dark or anything, but the early memories I have of them together aren't the best. It's fighting and violence and stuff.
Physical fighting?
Yeah.
In that Instagram post you wrote recently after the incident in the airport, you mentioned your father. And you mentioned, I think, some of his struggles. He had his own struggles with alcohol.
Yeah, his whole life he has. Yeah, alcohol has ruined his life.
And alcohol was present when you were a young man?
Oh, yeah.
And you were still there?
Yeah. He's been an alcoholic my entire life.
Did you have a relationship with him after the divorce?
Yeah, of course. I don't know what that's called, split custody or something, where every other weekend I would go to his house, spend the weekend at his house.
How did that season of your life, do you think, as you look back, shape the man that you became? That early context, under the age of 10 years old, that violent parents, they divorce, they separate, your dad is struggling with alcohol. How do you look back on that?
As a grown man, I look back and think my father was an idiot for, not being there with his kids. As a father, I think about that. Waking up with my kids in the house, running up to me, making them breakfast every day. I couldn't, I never want to live that type of life. I can't even imagine it. So as an adult and a father looking back on it, I think he's made a lot of mistakes that, I think he still lives with.
And your mum?
Uh-huh.
Got some nice photos of her as well. That's your wife. But she seems to have been a real constant throughout your life. That's her there.
For sure. I'll be on vacation with her in a week. Yeah, look at my face.
Post-fight.
Her and my grandmother raised me. She was, everything. Mothers are everything. And she still is, calling me, texting me every day, checking on me, asking how I am.
And you got two brothers?
So I have two brothers I grew up with, two brothers and a sister I met when I was 25, 26 years old from my father.
I guess I'm trying to figure out as well, because I heard about what you were like in school. You struggled in school.
Yeah.
It sounds like you got in a lot of fights when you were younger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out where that came from in you.
Yeah. I mean, living in South Louisiana, we fought all the time. But I just kept doing it. I just kept going with fighting, you know?
As a young man, I read that you were expelled from school as well.
Uh-huh.
And was that again for fighting and struggling to...
Yeah, fighting. The one that got me expelled was a fight.
And that seems to be quite a consistent pattern from 10 to 14, struggling in school, fighting. And then at 15, I hear that you end up in juvenile detention center.
14.
14.
Mm-hmm.
What was the road there? What happened?
I had gotten into some trouble at one of the times I was living with my father. I got into a fight and physically hurt somebody in the fight and got arrested. And I was on probation at the time, and I wasn't going to school. Got picked up for truancy and some other things like that for not going to school, and failed the drug test. I was on probation at the time, failed the drug test, and then they sent me to juvenile detention.
Were you drinking at that age?
Yeah.
At 15?
Mm-hmm.
When did you start drinking?
I was talking to my wife the other day, and I was thinking about that. I don't know, 12, 13 probably.
It is quite it's quite curious to me that you know, 14, 15, you're getting in trouble for fighting, you end up in a detention center, you're drinking from 12 years old. And it like begs the question to me as someone that's done lots of these interviews, like what was going on in that young man's mind?
I don't have an answer what was going on. Not having anywhere to put my focus, I wasn't trying to be the best at something. I was just living day to day, doing whatever. You know, I didn't have any goals. I was a young kid. You know, it's tough to say, to look back to that young and really say what I was thinking at that age. I was just being a kid, I guess.
Were you a happy kid?
Yeah.
You were a happy kid?
Yeah.
And you were spending the week with your mother, and then the week, you said, was it the weekends with your father?
The weekend or every other weekend. I forget exactly how it was. Yeah.
And when you talk about his life being ruined by alcohol, what do you mean by that?
I mean, he's ruined his marriages. He's ruined his relationships. He's ruined his friendships. He's ruined his relationships with his family, with his kids. 2 sons, 3. Well, my little brother kind of is off and on talking to him, but he has 2 kids that don't speak to him at all and won't. You know, he's been in jail plenty of times for alcohol related stuff. And yeah, if I could paint a picture of what you think of a classic drunk or alcoholic, you know, very selfish, and continues to go back to it. He's actually homeless right now.
He's homeless right now?
Yeah. Part of that, me getting in trouble at the airport, was I just felt, it's not my weight to carry, you know, but I just felt, I try to help him out, and he's back out on the street. It's like it almost doesn't want help, you know, and I was just kind of, on Father's Day, I was traveling to work, and I just couldn't stop thinking about my father, and I started drinking in the airport, and that's kind of what led to the incident. It's just, but when I feel like that, you know, I've been going to therapy and stuff like that. Years ago, I started going to therapy, and when I started feeling better, I stopped practicing everything I learned through therapy, you know, and then I felt that feeling again, just I guess you call it depression, just didn't feel well. And when I feel like that, I know I shouldn't drink, and I drank anyway. So, you know, not that my father, anything's an excuse. Obviously, I did what I did. But I knew better in the moment when I'm feeling like that to drink or do anything. You know, alcohol has never benefited me, especially in times like that where I'm mentally not the best.
You use the word depression there to describe that feeling, to give it a word. So let's use that word. Mm-hmm. Can you paint a picture for me in terms of what that actually feels like? That day that you wake up, it's Father's Day, you don't feel good. Like, what is that?
No, I felt good in the morning. You know, I spent the morning with my kids. My daughter wrote me a letter. She gave me presents, you know, did all the Father's Day stuff. I had a great morning. But then when I left my home to fly out, I started feeling it, you know, and days leading up to that, it would come off and on, and I would think about, you know, my father, and it would kind of bring me down, but it wasn't that bad. But for Father's Day, it just hit me, man. It hit me hard.
Because he's currently homeless.
Yeah.
Here in Louisiana?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, man, when I got out of jail in Atlanta and flew back home on that Tuesday, I got back late, maybe Tuesday. Wednesday morning, I drove to where he lives or where he sleeps, and went to the sheriff's office, got in contact with the coroner. I had to do a whole process to sign a OPC, Order of Protective Custody. I tried to get him to pick him up against his will and all this stuff, and they did. But I went at the wrong time, man. I went early in the morning when I woke up, and when they picked him up, he wasn't disoriented. He was normal, you know? And so they released him again.
What is the range of feelings and emotions you have towards him at the moment?
You know, he's always, it's tough. And I'm not angry at him. And once again, this isn't an excuse for my actions. You know, my father, it just came to a head on Father's Day. But just upset to see him doing this to himself and not getting out of his own way and continuing to let it get just worse and worse progressively over the years when he knows better, you know? When he knows better. I mean, most people, when you make a mistake or you try to fix it. You try to make tomorrow better than yesterday, you know, next year better than this year. Everybody just keeps doing the same thing, and that's because he's addicted to alcohol.
What is his story?
I wish I knew more so I could tell you, but been like a hard worker his whole life, you know, did whatever, worked in the oil field for a long time, but check to check his whole life. Simple guy, you know, was a really good athlete in school. Got a woman pregnant at a young age in high school, so he couldn't continue to focus and chase his dreams of playing football. You know, back then when you got a girl pregnant, you got married and got a job and things like that. So that's what he did.
So that day you wake up, you're feeling okay in the morning, it's Father's Day, you start thinking about your father, you get that feeling that you describe as depression.
Yeah.
Which is just, what is that feeling? It's feeling, for someone that has never experienced it before.
You know, I've had bouts with depression throughout my career. When it hits me, you know, it hits me hard. And that day it hit me hard, man. You know, going to the airport, it just feels like everything has its own gravity, and it's going to pull me towards the negative no matter what it is. It's like a cloud in my head that I just can't get out from under. It's hard to explain to you unless you've been through it. That's what I try to tell my wife, because she's always so happy and so, you know, which is great. But like when I feel like that, and it doesn't happen often, but man, when it hits me, it's bad. You know, it's bad.
Do you remember the first time you felt that?
I don't, but my wife, you know, me and my wife been together a long time, since we were off and on through middle school and high school and all that. But she tells me, there she is. She tells me, don't you remember, like, I've always thought something, you know, you never wanted to be around big crowds. You go to all the parties with me when I was younger and do all that stuff. Yeah, because I just didn't like to be around that many people that much. You know, I maybe it was anxiety I was dealing with. I don't know. This stuff is all new to me. So I would tell her how I feel, and she's like, don't you remember? So she thinks I've been having it, but I started noticing it, you know, more recently in the last years, 3-4 years.
Was there a catalyst at all? A catalyst moment, something that happened that caused you to feel that? Or
if I could link it to something, it was I lost a big fight, came back home.
With which fight?
My second fight with Justin Gaethje.
Yeah.
Lost that one, came back home, everything was good, and then I was really emotional, man. You know, some days I would be fine, some days I would be sad, and I was like, something's off, you know, something's off. So that's when I started going to therapy and trying to unpack some of the stuff that I didn't even know I was walking around with, you know.
Did you learn anything through the process of therapy? I've been to therapy too.
The day I got back from Atlanta, I started going to therapy again.
After the airport incident?
Yeah. Right before I went try to help my father, I went through a therapy session. So I had kind of closed the door on therapy when I started feeling good again. You know, but then I'm starting to realize, like, it's not something that you just fix. it's something you have to work on always. And, so, and that's what I'm trying to do. Since for the last week, I've been waking up early, reading some stuff, writing, doing something hard in the morning, just trying to do everything that I was doing that made me feel better 3 years ago. And I'm trying my best, man.
Have you learned anything about yourself through the process of therapy?
Yeah, that maybe some of the childhood stuff I'm still carrying around. I don't think about it, it's not like the first, but
It's unconscious, a lot of it.
right. But deep down, I'm still carrying things I think from my childhood. And everybody, I've learned a lot through therapy. Everybody deals with different emotions and process things differently. And I'm still going through it, I'm back in therapy now.
I've been able to interview lots of people, and so I've interviewed like psychologists, lots of them, so many therapists I've interviewed. And one of the things that I noticed, which was quite stark to me, was that young boys in particular that grow up without a stable father figure are much more likely to be have anger issues, be depressed, struggle in life. But it's actually the data skews more towards young boys without that sort of stable father figure. But also that if you compound that with there being violence in the home from a young age, that's also another factor which exacerbates the situation worse. So those are sort of two of the things that stood out to me, was the absence of your father. Also having a father or a parent that's dealing with addiction is another burden for so many reasons. So those three things are the things that from your story and from, I thought, oh, those are challenges that are understandable to stay with you as an adult.
Yeah, for sure. And then you don't even think about them at all throughout your whole life. And then you sit down with somebody and start opening things up and talking about things. You say, well, maybe I could be, this could be linked to different things, and I could be carrying stuff that isn't mine to carry, and things like that. As I'm growing up and being more mature and talking and speaking with professionals and stuff, I'm starting to unpack some of that.
And was that difficult to do?
Therapy?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
It's difficult to even say, isn't it?
Right. And even at the beginning, when I first started doing interviews like Ariel Helwani and stuff, and I would bring it up, like I'm working on myself, I'm going to therapy. It felt weak in the moment. Like, who am I? Like, I'm going through therapy. I'm telling the world I'm going to therapy. But then I look at it hindsight. I'm like, you know what? That's strength. Especially in a tough guy sport.
Mm-hmm.
We're fighting and bleeding and beating each other up, beating the best guys up in the world. Fighting the best guys in the world. And I need to go to therapy to unpack some stuff. It's crazy. The human mind is incredible.
It's funny because we go to the gym, right? And we work on our physical performance. But going to therapy isn't, we're going to hide that.
The gym was a part of therapy for me. Fighting was a part of therapy, for me. And I always was scared of that. What am I going to do to sabotage myself when I retire from fighting? Because I don't have this outlet anymore. I've done it for 20 years of fighting. I always had somewhere to go. I always had to get better at the gym, to work on fighting, to focus on something. Every day I could get up and push myself to try to be better, to answer a new question, to do anything with fighting to get better. On multiple levels, whether it's the techniques or whether it's my physical fitness, anything, there was always something to work on, always. And when I retired, I was kind of worried about that, like how will life look post-fighting, I was scared of it.
Because, you've been fighting since you were, 16, 17?
Yeah.
And you're 37 now, so it's just over 2 decades that fighting has been your kind of North Star and your orientation.
It was always there for me. Always there for me. No matter what was going on, I could go to the gym and drown out any noise in my brain, quiet that voice in your head. And I was scared to not have that anymore. And I still have it. I can still go to the gym every day if I want, but it's not the same. It doesn't feel the same.
It doesn't feel the same.
Not being on the mats, preparing to fight someone for your life and your family's well-being in front of the world. If I'm just training just to spin my wheels, it doesn't feel, I've done this my whole life training. Still fun. I have fun. We do whatever, train, but it doesn't feel the same to me anymore.
Because there's not a big goal at the end of it to focus your being.
Exactly.
When you look through the last 20 years, do you see fighting as a really productive distraction in some respects then?
For me, yeah. For me, 100%.
Why?
Yeah, it was an outlet. It was something to focus on. It was something to try to be the best at. It consumed me, man. It consumed me. Fighting was my entire life. And now post-fighting, it's like separating myself from the fighter is I'm trying to figure it out still. You know, a buddy of mine told me the other day, a wise man told him, if you're lucky, you die twice. If a man's lucky, he gets to die twice. And that's kind of what I'm going through right now. Now that makes sense to me. You know, that part of me that every day wake up, push yourself to be the best fighter you can be is dead. You know, I'm retired Dustin now. I'm businessman Dustin now. I was a father before when I was still fighting, but I have other things, other hats to wear. You know, it's just I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it all out.
And it's only been 11 months?
Not even a year, yeah.
July 30th, wasn't it, last year that you retired?
Here in New Orleans.
Do they offer you any support with that retirement process?
As far as
giving you a roadmap for how to deal with the mental shift?
No.
There's no like sort of post-fighting program?
No, there should be. For sure there should be, but no.
Because it's quite a familiar story across sports.
Right, and that's what I was always, when I would see it happen, I knew, I was like, I'm never going to be that, you know? I'm never going to be the guy that goes and gets arrested or gets hooked on drugs or blows all of his money and just, you know, you see it over and over, and not just in fighting, in professional sports, you know? It's like you've done something so long, your whole life, so intense, and so, you know, it takes all of you. When it's gone, it's like, what else can I do to the maximum? What else dopamine hit can I get? What can I just pour myself into and go crazy on something, you know? And a lot of times it's bad things, dangerous things. You know, you see it time and time again. And I always said, I'll never be that guy. And I'm not. You know, I ran into some trouble the other week, but I'm still making a lot of right decisions, you know what I mean? I'm not that. It just sucks to be at this point to where I always saw those guys getting arrested and doing stuff, and I was like, man, what an idiot, you know? But I wasn't going through it then. I didn't understand it at that time.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.